Nighttime is the best time. As a child, I slept peacefully every night, as most children do. But when puberty hit and anxiety about grades, girls, friends, my parents' divorce, my brother's arrest, and a whole litany of other things began occurring in my life, I don't know, I just had trouble falling asleep. I think it was partially that I never wanted the next day to come. I love nighttime. Between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., the world was on pause. There were no day-to-day societal expectations during that time. It was simply just existing. I found it poetic and comforting, a quiet time to do whatever I wanted without pressure from my life. I think I became a bit too enamored with that and ended up just staying up until 3 a.m. every night, and then 4 a.m., and then 5 a.m. And before I knew it, I was getting an hour's sleep before I had to go to school and spending my entire day at school taking intermittent naps. It made for a rough high school experience when it came to grades. I would often find myself going to the principal's office because I was dozing off in class. Then I would pass out in the principal's office while she was lecturing me. I just never wanted the next day to come. And I just found so much peace and sanctuary in that pocket of time. I truly wished there was a way I could stay up all night without being tired the next day. I never went to college and simply got a job at an electronics store right after high school. And I fared just as bad there as I did in high school, constantly passing out at the cashier's desk or going for tiny naps in the backroom storage. My friends told me to find a night shift job, but that defeated the purpose for me. I wanted my night times to be free. What I needed was a way to stay awake all night, but be alert and awake in the day. I tried Vyvanse, of course, and Adderall, but that just made me ultra-wired for a little bit and manic, and then I would crash hard by noon. Look, I know, what I wanted was impossible, because what I wanted was essentially a way to never sleep. I was talking about my ongoing issue with a friend while eating in the food court at our local mall. That's when a girl named Millie overheard me talking with my friend about my unrealistic desire to just stay awake. Millie just sat down with us and said,
"There's a way, without drugs, willpower, or anything else you've tried before, to stay up all day and all night."
I scoffed and replied, "Yeah, I've tried Vyvanse and Adderall, and I'm not doing any other drugs, so if that's what you're getting at." She quickly interrupted me and said,
No drugs.
I then said, "Oh, so what? Willpower? Meditation? Look, I've tried all of it, and I end up just feeling sick and passing out in places that I shouldn't." Millie inhaled deeply and said,
"There's a way, without drugs, willpower, or anything else you've tried before, to stay up all day and all night. Me, myself, I'm on day 23 of no sleep."
I laughed and said, "Bullshit, you'd be dead." And then she replied,
And yet, here I am. It's a group of people, kinda underground, but we chat remotely on a site you need a link to go to. We call ourselves insomnophiliacs. Sleep sucks is our slogan. Hit me up if you want to learn more.
I watched as she whipped out a pen and wrote her email address down on a napkin, and then she just went on her way. It was one of those interactions where you laugh about it after, call it weird, and then forget about it. I pocketed the napkin, and on my drive home, I won't lie, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I knew it was probably bullshit, but hey, at the very least it would give me a crop of fellow young vampires and night dwellers to chat to. I checked the clock. It read 12:24 a.m. My night was just getting started. I pondered for a moment and then emailed Millie, and to my shock, she responded back in seconds. She didn't say much in the email.
Glad you're interested.
And sent me a link. I clicked it and my screen went black. A little icon popped up on the screen that simply read, "Dream." I clicked on it and it opened up to a peculiar looking website, one that you could tell was probably Not on the internet's surface layer, if you catch my drift. No, this was definitely a backdoor site, somewhere in between the deep web and the regular web. I jumped when I heard a little notification beep. It was a chat window. Millie was talking to me in real time now through it. She directed me where to go on the site, and it led to a type of Zoom video call service that was baked into the site. I clicked on the join call button, and a group of about 20 people populated on my screen. 3 of the people had their video off, and their voices were cloaked. The other people in the call were using pretty shitty webcams because I could barely see any of their faces either. Only Millie had a camera with a clear picture, and I was surprised that she seemed kind of serious and intense. She had come off originally so peppy. One of the users with their camera off spoke directly to me.
Hello, new insomnophiliac. We're excited you've decided to come here tonight. Millie has vetted you already. We think you'd be a good addition to our little club here.
His or hers voice kind of creeped me out a bit. This whole thing kind of creeped me out a bit, to be honest. But I was still very intrigued. I replied, "Yeah, I'm excited to see what this is all about." The faceless user then said,
Good. Check your doorstep in the morning. There will be a bag.
Then the call just ended abruptly. No goodbyes. I emailed Millie and asked, "Is that it?" She didn't respond. I'm not gonna lie, all I thought was, okay, they're a bunch of wackos and this was some kind of scam or prank. I shrugged and continued my endless night watching TV and eating snacks. The sun began to rise. I hadn't slept, but the tired was coming on. I went to my front doorstep and I was shocked to find a brown paper bag, just like the group had said. I checked the contents and it was a bottle of black liquid, and the bottle had no label. There was a note in the bag that said,
Drink this, go to sleep. Rejoin us tonight on the site.
What the fuck? I thought. I'm not drinking some weird liquid. I mean, it was black. Hell no, man. I emailed Millie again and asked about the bottle, and she asked to meet me in a parking lot near our local grocery store. We met up and she carried the same liquid that I had with her, and she stood in front of me and drank it in one go to assure me that it was safe to drink. She said to me,
This is just the first step. It primes you for the transformation.
I gave her an odd look and said, "Transformation? What?" She replied,
It's just a figure of speech. The insomnophiliacs, well, we're a bit dramatic, but drink it. Trust me, unless you don't want this anymore.
I replied and said, "Okay, but honestly, how do I know this is real other than your word? I have no proof that you've been up for days. You could just be saying that." Millie just smiled and said,
I figured you'd get here. Everyone does once they start, me included. Check this out.
Millie was able to access the insomnophiliac site via her phone and showed me a section of the site called Results. It was a collection of videos of various people set to a time-lapse. They were inside their homes and in their bedrooms, and the clock was speeding by. Hours, days, weeks. And I saw it, right there on the video. They did not sleep, not once.
These are a few of our members. They volunteered to lock up in their room for weeks to show that it works.
I was in awe. It was true. They weren't sleeping, and they didn't look tired, and even more so, they were alive. I said to Millie, "Okay, but what is this stuff? Is it like black food coloring?" Millie replied,
Trade secret. You just have to trust us.
I locked eyes with Millie. Then I took out my bottle of black liquid and I chugged it. It had no taste. It was like water. I felt a wave of anxiety come over me as soon as I was done downing it. What if I had just drank arsenic or some other weird substance? Millie smiled, patted me on the back, and said,
Good on ya. Now head home and take a nap.
I did just that. I needed to. I was so panicked over drinking that black liquid. But when I woke up, I felt great. I felt rested. In fact, the most rested I had ever felt in my entire life. I felt like I could climb a fucking mountain. I was ecstatic, and then it dawned on me, did I just drink some kind of liquid cocaine? But no, It lasted all day and into the night. My energy levels were peaked. They told me that the next step to finalize the process was for me to go to an area of their site and watch some kind of movie. It all didn't make sense to me, but allegedly the movie would keep the black liquid that was inside of me. The black liquid was what was keeping me awake. And watching this movie somehow would keep it from being expelled from my body through sweat or urination. It sounded kind of unhealthy, but I had come this far. I clicked on the link and an embedded video started playing. There was no imagery, just dampened colors set to a couple high-frequency sounds. It kept going and going and going, and suddenly I felt an electric shock go through my system that was so intense that I fell back onto my floor, and suddenly I couldn't move. I felt movement in my body, like tiny little humanoids were wriggling around in my flesh. It was awful, and then my vision shifted, and it suddenly felt like I was on a hallucinogen. Then it all just ended. I got to my feet and went back to the group chat. The faceless user, who I assume by now was the leader of the group, said,
"Now you are one of us. You no longer need sleep. We meet back here once a week to discuss our experiences of non-sleep. Testimonials to help others join us."
The call once again just ended abruptly. I sat around until sunrise, and miraculously, I felt no need for sleep. I felt as awake and alert as ever. It was amazing. I tried emailing Millie to thank her for introducing me to this, but got no reply. It was no issue. I went through the week amazed that I did not feel the need to sleep in the slightest. In fact, it felt like I had unlimited energy. I spent the next few weeks killing my tasks at work, and I even had time in the early evenings to begin writing a fiction novel I had been wanting to write for years. I spent time with friends, family. I did activities I had energy for now, like joining a touch football league and going with like-minded groups of people to movies and plays. And once every week, we would meet on the site, me and my fellow insomnophiliacs. I did notice, though, that every week more people would end up turning off their cameras. I even became a recruiter myself, much like Millie was for me. I would go out and hear people talk about how they just wish there were more hours in a day, and I would tell them about the group. But speaking of Millie, she had become fairly elusive. She eventually turned off her video feed on her camera as well during the group calls. I would DM her, email her, but no response. I backed off though. I figured she didn't want to talk anymore. The leader of the insomnophiliacs asked me one night for a quick one-on-one call. He said to me on the call,
"Have you felt anything new in the past couple of days?"
I scratched my head and said, "I haven't felt the need for sleep, if that's what you mean."
"Strange. You have a funny system."
"What does that mean?"
"It means nothing. Just let me know if you start feeling different."
The call cut off. God, that really was their MO. Abrupt hang-ups. What the fuck was he talking about, I thought. Well, that night as I was prepping for my 4 a.m. workout session, I did indeed start feeling different. My eyes were hurting. Not a tired I want to sleep hurt, but like a searing, burning pain. When I checked my eyes in my mirror, my irises looked whited slightly, like cataracts were on them. My teeth, they looked more pointy, and my skin was almost translucently pale. I thought, oh no, something's wrong. I immediately went to an urgent care facility as soon as the sun rose. The nurse there was shocked at my appearance. It all made no sense to her. They ran a bunch of tests, blood and urine, and apparently nothing was anomalous in my system. They suggested I go to the ER, but I couldn't afford that. I knew this had to be something to do with that black liquid. I called the leader and he told me,
"Ah, so you felt something different finally."
I replied, "Hey, what the fuck is happening to me? My fucking hair is falling out right now. What did you give me? What was in that liquid?" Silence on the line. And then suddenly he said,
"I gave you evolution."
And then the line cut off. I began to panic. I needed to talk to Millie. I spent the next few sleepless days searching for her, literally going around town with a picture of her, the sole picture that was on her social media page, asking people if they knew her, and no one did. All the while, My teeth continued to sharpen. My skin was so pale now that it burned in the sun after only a few seconds. My eyes were now milky white, and my hair was half fallen out of my head. But eventually, I had a breakthrough with the Millie search. I happened upon an old co-worker of hers when she was still working at a local pharmacy. He told me he too wasn't able to get in contact with her recently. He was reticent about giving me her address, but submitted when I told him she could be in danger. I rushed over to her apartment as quick as I could. I was met by a meek-sounding,
"Hello?"
"Millie, it's me. I need you to open up. I need you to explain what's happening to me. What was in that black liquid? What was that video? How am I staying awake?" Silence. No response. I got angry, and I kicked her door, and to my shock, the door flew right off the hinges and busted into the apartment forcefully. I heard Millie scream, and then I entered the home. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know how I did that. Millie, I'm sorry, but I need your help. I need to know what's happening to me."
"You're shifting."
I heard the word and my mind did a flip-flop. "Shifting?" I said. Then I watched as Millie slowly came out of the shadows. Only it wasn't Millie, or at least the Millie I remembered. I mean, she barely looked human. She was shorter, gangly, her hair was thinned, her face looked like it was falling off. She was diminutive and had fur all over her body. I can't even fully describe it. She was monstrous. "Millie, is that you?" she creaked out.
"Yes, it is the final stage. The shifting. The purpose of the group. Being able to stay awake is a side effect to the true goal."
I was truly horrified. I didn't know what to think or do.
But the process weeds people out. Some become prey, others become predators, and the prey are food for predators so they can evolve further.
I wanted to ask more, but I suddenly became famished, ravenous. I looked at myself in Millie's standing mirror and noticed that I had suddenly become a hulking, gangly figure with unbelievably sharp teeth. I was bald, my skin was gray, I was fully a monster, and all I wanted to do was eat. Millie said,
"I was hoping I'd be a predator, but as you can see, I am meant to nourish ones like you. It's for the greater good, so I am ready. It seems your timing was perfect. Your shifting is complete. Luckily, I was here to feed you."
She said those words, and before she could even finish, I pounced on her and ripped her neck open. I rended her flesh with my razor-sharp teeth and began devouring her body. I savored every bite. Feeding on Millie was the most exhilarating and satisfying experience of my life. When I was done gnawing on her bones, I felt calm. I got a phone call. It was the leader. He said,
How was your first meal? Delicious, no? So going forward, you will mute your video to the new recruits when we do our video chats. We need more meals. We've had mostly predators shift lately. We need more prey. Do you know anyone who might want to? Stay awake indefinitely.
Months passed. The leader let me into the upper echelon of the insomnophiliacs. Now I was one of the faceless users on the video chat, lording over new recruits who wanted the gift of never sleep. I couldn't live in normal society anymore, so the leader let me stay at the Insomnophiliac HQ, a hole in the earth that led to an underground society of less than 100, of fellow monstrous beings such as myself. And every night, around 1 a.m., we would log in and talk to the new recruits and take them through the dark process of turning them into either predator, who would join us in the hole, or prey, our nourishment. And you know, I don't even think about sleeping or not sleeping anymore, or maximizing my time day to day, or even about the beauty of my peaceful nighttime or anything. All I cared about was my insatiable hunger and my unquenchable desire to feed on new prey.